All right, guys, we're on going on tonight. We got the three C's of destruction here on the rabbit hole. We got Colin, Corey, and myself, and one of you guys wrote into us, and that's part of the question we're going to start off tonight. The first question we're probably going to ignore. The second one is explain how the Confederacy slavers took over America. Any ideas?
So let's talk about what we mean by the slavers, the slavery system, I guess, first. Like when they're talking about the slavers, we're talking about, I'm assuming he's talking about the 1% of the South, not even 1%. It was not many people that actually physically owned slaves. So it was more of the system of slavery, which was inherited through pretty much every culture in the world up until that point. Britain had began the process of ending the slave trade, and people go, well, it was because they were trying to free people, and it wasn't really for that purpose, in my opinion. It was more of Tsar Alexander had this problem where they were in Russia, they had the serf system. But as the industrial age came about and labor was mechanized, there was a fundamental problem in terms of getting what we call today a middle class of expertise, of people that were able to be competent in their trade, able to, be fairly educated in how to fix and, keep the machines up and running. There was more skill, there was a little bit more intelligence required. And in my opinion, I think that drove for that you can't do, it was, in many ways, it was cheaper just to have what I guess people will call wage slavery.
Yeah, I would go
Just
along with that.
instead of trying to, create the illusion of, or not even the illusion, created an avenue that one day, if you work hard enough in the factory, you'll work out yourself up, and then you'll be able to move on up to higher socioeconomic status, which did and does happen.
Yeah.
It's pretty difficult, but it does happen.
Well,
In
that
slavery,
old
good.
that old song, 16 tons. Ever heard that
Hmm.
one?
Yeah.
16 tons. What do you get? Another day older and deeper in debt. That
It's a
was
carrot.
about basically paid labor slavery. So we
Yeah.
went from like you owe us you owed your soul to the company store,
What did that
and
mean?
that's well, it means you
You
lived on
work in a
company ground. You live in company housing. You dig underground for coal, and then the money you make barely covers your bill for the food you buy.
Because
And
they
you go
control it.
deeper, they control everything. That's why you
Yep.
had the redneck rebellion.
Yeah.
So
There were a bunch
the
of
red,
those, and then that's where the Pinkertons and private security started coming in to operate domestically to squash labor movements, and then enter in, labor organization, and the basically the governments of the West used the mafia allowed the mafia to take over and base management of those systems, since they were already bribing each other, you know, at that point. So there was a way to indirectly for governments to take over, um, to hijack labor movements.
yeah,
Um, in other words, the slavery system is, like, in terms of being shackled and being forced to work every morning and night, it transitioned from that to you earn a livable wage that will
Mhm.
sustain you. And, if you're a good worker, you can create more good workers and have a family. And
well, yeah. What was it? The Ford was one of the first companies. Ford Motor Corporation was one of the first companies that came up with this. They had like a 7-day work week, and he came up with the 6-day work week. And then when they perfected the conveyor belt or the assembly line, they took it down to a 5-day work week. And
Yes.
so, you know, capitalism and the thing that's interesting about that, if you go down that rabbit hole, Ford wanted to reinvest his profits into the employees. And there was a lawsuit that came out, and they basically forced Ford through that lawsuit to pursue corporate interests over employee interests
This is
or
called
investors.
stakeholder capitalism.
Yeah.
That and they openly talk about this in Europe, that the vested interests are the principle, and this whole I guess you could call it a religion or a fetish of fiduciary responsibility, that legally you're on the hook now to your underwriters to make a profit.
Yeah.
And if you're not facilitating, or whether that be fraud or negligence, that the stakeholders have legal means or ways to oust you out of the company per se. So when
Yeah,
companies go
that's
public, they're not really public. Really what's happened is the company has now exited control away from one singular individual, the owner slash CEO or whoever's running it.
yeah.
So in other words, when he's talking about, it's a dumb question, because slavery, in a sense, it depends what you mean by slavery. You could say slavery exists today in America from one
It
level of analysis.
yeah.
Um, um, it's like, so for example, if we, the individual, don't have any agency over our elections, which ostensibly we do, but when you actually get involved in politics, you realize it's, it's not, it is such an uphill rigged game from the beginning that it's not a simple matter of getting people out to vote. And then also we don't have a means of checking to see if if the election system even works or functions the way it's supposed to. If it's
Well,
on, it's a black hole.
well,
And
then basically it's the fiat of the government where they go, just trust us.
yeah,
And
yeah,
We
because
wouldn't
that's
lie to you.
no, that knife in your
No.
back, that's not, we didn't do that.
No.
and a part of their justification. The more you live in the world of management, the more you start looking at humans as herd animals, as things to be corralled, to be managed, and because that's your job, that's what they have to do.
Yeah.
So you start dehumanizing people en masse when you start putting them on spreadsheets. But at the same time, when you're operating large businesses like that, you have to do it, or that's kind of a natural thing that happens. A lot of this really all goes back to Malthusianism, Thomas Malthus, and the whole notion of that he's like the OG of, in terms of the modern world of the British system of population, population decline, or population hitting a peak of population. Like basically there's a point where the population cannot sustain itself. So population sustainability, that eventually you get too many people if you have too much prosperity. So we have to, uh, and he talks like, because of the gifts God gave us, our intellect, our managerial skills, that we can create conditions to court the plague again, meaning
Yeah.
Mm.
bring back disease, make conditions possible for people and the weak and the infirm and the old to start dying off, so we don't have such a weight of, overhead, so that we can still move forward. And then also we're not going to exceed our ability to produce food, energy, transportation, and then enter the environmentalist movement added with that, where we're killing Mother Earth because there's too many people.
Yeah, well,
Um,
that was that whole thing during the 70s when they were talking about overpopulation of the world and
yeah, the
all that
population
stuff.
bomb. I think it
Yeah.
was Paul Ehrlich wrote that book, and yeah, and it's a constant trope, and it goes all the way back to ancient civilizations. You hear there's the pharaohs of Egypt. We're talking, oh, there's too many. It's in the Bible. They're getting a little too populous. There's too many people. Better start killing their firstborn off.
Yeah.
This has been going on forever. So this idea that it stopped is absurd to me, because at the end of the day, really what it comes down to, what I think they're afraid of, is once you get to a certain amount of people, you get a certain amount of what you would call a middle class, or people that are able to see how the whole thing works. And then their positions, the elites positions that are at the top of this, are threatened by that middle class of people that are smarter, work harder, or find weaknesses in their system to exploit and then create competition. And they hate competition. That is the last thing they want. And that's really what I think this is all about. I mean, the British system is all about building monopolies and creating trade and trade choke points.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think that's pretty
Now you
much.
can't overtly do monopolies, because then everyone, even the dumb people, are going to be like, wait a second. So we got to have Walmart and Target. We got to have
The
Walgreens and CVS. Exactly.
Sam's Club and Costco. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got to have
So
Union Pacific and Southern Santa Fe. Got to have, which both those railroads are taking over the world. But
yeah.
anyways,
McNeilus, he did the cement trucks, and people had a huge issue with that because nobody else had cement truck like him, and there was no competition. I remember that from my younger years. I was
what
like,
I thought,
so, huh?
go ahead.
I was like, so what's the big deal? And um, the federal government didn't like that. It wasn't equal, and the guy
My
built
one,
it from scratch. Built the whole thing from scratch.
yeah,
the,
because it
the
was the
thing
best. Go ahead.
the best one I ever saw was what was that? The aviator guy. Um,
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes, when he went up against the, when they were trying to accuse him of monopoly because he and his family invented the oil drilling bit. And he goes, it's not a monopoly. I don't understand why he would say that. You have an option. You can use a shovel. It's just like, you know, no, Howard Hughes' family was pretty good. His dad is the one that invented that. That you see that bit that drillers use to have the three little grinders on it, and they spin around and
Yeah,
they break up rock. That's where Howard Hughes got all his money.
he did really, really well. Still using it, from what I hear.
Oh yeah, but the other people make it now. He lost the patent, but Hughes Aircraft, that's where we have the Apaches from Hughes Aircraft, which is now McDonnell Douglas Aircraft or
Something that's
helicopters.
very interesting that I have not spent enough time on, but I'm just throwing this out there just for you guys to keep an eye open for this stuff. Is the very nature of our patent office and how the whole
Yeah.
patent system works. It's British, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
That's where it all comes from, and they all tie in.
Uh-oh.
Tie into darkness, I see. You just went black. I was like, huh, that was like a
Uh-oh, he's gone again.
good
Started
timing.
talking about patents. They can't have that. So
No.
The only patent you can talk about is George Patton.
yeah,
Oh,
hang on.
yeah. Well, patents, that's kind of a tricky thing because if they hold the patent for you, and they're supposed to be the administrator and all that kind of stuff. Yet, they can also uh, and this is conjecture. I've heard this that people can lose their patent, could be taken. They control
Well, they
how
can
it
get
works,
yeah, they can well, yeah, if your
and then
patent
they
is
hide
so
it.
I think it was something about if your patent is so revolutionary that they deem that it's for the betterment of the country, they can take it from you, give it to others.
It, yeah, or you end up, you know, in your car, passed out with your car running in your garage, and die from carbon
Or you
monoxide.
end up at a motel with a, you know, with a letter that says I'm not suicidal with a bullet hole in your head,
Yeah.
especially if you are a former Boeing employee. But
Yeah. And there's tons of urban stories and real stories, actually, of people, especially in the realm of energy development, that just, and everyone's ends up dying or something weird happens. I don't know about those too much. There is, anyway, the point being is the whole point of the patent office is like, yeah, it ostensibly protects your invention so that you can build a business around it so a bigger guy can't come in and swoop in and steal it off of you. Um, well, a part of that problem is the Chinese have no problem doing that. So we kind of live in a world
what
where patents don't really matter unless you live in a country that enforces them.
what I thought was great is when Elon Musk was talking about why he doesn't patent things. Because it is because they can just go to the patent office, steal your idea, change it by like 1 or 2%, and then they can use your idea. You're basically telling people what you did. Whereas if you don't
Hmm,
patent it, you're not telling them how to
Exactly.
do it. And then you don't have to spend all the money defending it, but they have to spend all the money re-engineering what you did.
Yeah.
And it takes more time than if you went and patented it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like,
Now, if you invented like the Scrub Daddy sponge or something, then maybe you would want to go and get that patented, something like that. But if you're inventing new hydrogen fuel cell technology in your garage, maybe you just open source that and protect your own ass. Maybe you'll get a good job for Boeing or something, you know, um, and you'll live.
yeah.
But
well, I remember when I was trying to pursue my A&P license, I got this wild hair up my butt that I was going to go become an airplane mechanic because they make like $250,000 a year. And we went on a tour of this facility over in near, what was it? I think it was over in Fresno where they built like helicopter blades, and they also worked on sides of airplanes, and they made antennas for satellites.
mhm,
And they were saying too that they never patent anything either. Lots of people that are real high tech don't patent things. They just keep
Hmm.
redesigning it and refining it and let people reverse engineer it. It's way easier than dealing with patents. And then you don't have to spend the money defending it.
yeah, and it's safer. So when
But
we're
but you know who worked at the patent office? Have you ever who's someone really famous worked at the patent office? You know who that was?
I'm sure I'll remember once you say it. I can't remember off the top of my head.
George
He
Patton?
so
I don't know.
Einstein, Albert
He did?
I didn't
Einstein.
know that. Hmm.
He's a Albert Einstein was a patent clerk.
Oh,
Make sure. Yeah.
Patent clerk. Hmm.
well, anyway, going back to the slavery question of how the Confederates took over the country, that's obviously a dumb question
Yeah.
because we've been talking about how the British have been controlling our system since they, you know, 1688 when they started, when they had their merger. Well, it was in the 1700s when they merged with the Dutch VOC and then became what we know today as the British Empire and consolidated all the trade ports and commodities markets under their exchanges. Everyone has to go
Uh-huh.
through London for anything close to precious industrial metals for pricing. Brent crude is determined in London. None of Brent crude contracts are ever delivered upon. It's just a
Who's
number.
Brett Crude?
Brent crude is an oil index
Oh, okay.
and it's basically kind of the baseline that determines the price. Like, so if you hear people say, "Oh, Brent crude is this price," that basically means the global price per barrel is going to be this amount, and
Okay.
that's set by the City of London.
Okay.
So one of the big questions is, why is America, who was now England and France and Germany, not so much Germany because they kept getting crushed, and that's a part of the reason that World War I and II happened, was they could not allow Germany to become to get in control uh, of Europe, of the continent, because their
Mhm.
ability for manufacturing, their access to metals or to industrial components was vast, or it was let me put it this way: compared to the French and British, it was nothing, but it's still, because Germany was founded in the 1800s.
Yeah, it's a very new kingdom
It's
compared to the
very
rest
new
of
compared,
Europe.
yeah, it's newer than the United States. People have it like in their head that Germany's been around forever, mostly because
Well, the
Germanic peoples have been around for a very long time. Yeah,
The German tribes, but
yeah.
it's like even during the what was it, World War II, they had different they segregated the people by basically the states of Germany they were from.
Yeah.
And
Barons, principalities, kingdoms,
yeah.
Bavaria, Kingdom of Bavaria.
Well, part of the reason my understanding was part of the reason Germany was so late to the game is because the Romans never conquered them. The Germanic tribes beat off, well, I
Um,
mean, fought off the Romans pretty good.
uh, yeah, I mean, for sure they did. Um, it, it's, yeah, they never were able to find, even though you could say, like, I think what was happening was, like, Hitler was, and this is not a pro Hitler speech, but just this, when we're speaking objectively from civilizational standpoints, one of the best ways to secure your dynasty long term is to encapsulate it within a civilizational state, meaning
Uh-huh.
it lives. And this is something EM has taught me, and other people have, but it's kind of made a bunch of things that I've learned click. I never really understood what a civilization state was, but when you read the current um, geopolitical strategists, like Trump's letter to Europe, he said Europe is on course for civilizational suicide. Like, he's speaking
It
like from
is.
as it clearly is, but then we also like,
You can't have large quantities of Arabs come in there, large quantities of Indians coming in there. I mean, Britain is pretty much my parents when they went to Britain, they said they could not believe how many Muslim mosques were there.
my point with that was that, and
Oh,
that's true 100%, but um what is, like, civilizations are not taught to us. So basically, going back to Germany, they needed to protect themselves, create, one of the strategies is you create a civilizational state, because if you just build it around a nation state, which they ended up, I think that was a part of their problem, was they bought into German as the identity for a civilizational state so strongly and deeply. And that's why the obsession with the Aryanism, which goes into the occult schools and lore, and basically that we were some of the first men on the planet, basically, or conscious beings. Like, that's where that kind of comes into, which we won't go down that rabbit hole, but there's a lot. They didn't just study that for no reason. There's a lot there. I'm not
mhm.
saying they were right, but I'm saying the subject matter they were trying to study, there is a lot in there as to, like, the origins of consciousness and how it began, and why people groups split off in different um directions. So there's a lot of
Well,
objective ways you could look at that, but they nested that and used that as, like, kind of like England kind of, or Britain kind of had this notion of the royal family were one of the lost tribes of Israel. or from one of the lost tribes of Israel. That's a common trope you see in the royal
I'll be
family
right back.
of Europe. They always hearken
Yeah.
back because it's all about legitimacy in the minds of the population. So we'll just say we're from, we're the OGs, like, we just left after, Rome came in to conquer us basically. And then we migrated up to Scotland or whatever. There's no way to know if that's true. There's no way, there's no gene trail. It was just thrown out there that we have
Yeah.
publicly. I'm not like, hell, I'm open-minded. Maybe they were. That'd be fascinating if that were true. But the point of it wasn't for historicity or accuracy. The point was for legitimacy. So you need legitimacy in the minds of your population, or people don't believe in it, and then it dissolves. Point an
Oh, yeah.
example. Look at the United States. The only way to destroy it is to get people to stop believing in it as a concept. Done a damn
Well,
good job.
and it's the only way to destroy it is to stop. The reason we've been able to get so far in our country is we're a nation of laws, and there isn't that's always been the presentation. We're a nation of laws, but when you look at the fact that there's basically two tiers of justice,
It always has been.
and yeah, and I don't mean that it's just like that. It's like, how come you can be homeless in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and they won't bother you, but if they think you have a checking account, they'll come after you and start nailing you for all kinds of different things. Yeah, the same thing with Rio Rancho was like that. If you have they think you have money, they'll come after you. But if you don't, you're toast.
Well, you have something to protect versus something that nobody wants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're
So-
also a soft target if you're on the grid, which is, that's you're going to be, you're liable for lawsuits or a threat. I mean, if you really think about it, if you work your whole life and you got a 401k and you worked so hard and you're making good money in a business. I lived through this when my dad went through a problem with the CFPB when they came in and claimed that he was, to a judge in Florida, got an ex parte order from a judge to go in and seize everything. And they came into his office with SWAT, like rifles drawn, get on the ground. And they basically convinced this judge that my dad and everyone was like a flight risk and they were all going to leave the country. And they had defrauded thousands of people. And it was a debt consolidation business where basically they would work with people and they streamlined the legal process in that they got like they just kind of like, it's like a mill, like lawyers know what they're dealing with. Here's your risk, here's the assets, here's their collateral, here's their future earnings potential. Go settle with Visa and MasterCard on their behalf, and we just do it in mass. So it's like it's a great idea. And it actually it was like, I was always thinking like, maybe it's sketchy, maybe there's something going on, because I could not believe that the government went through that much trouble to destroy my dad's company. And it wasn't just his, he was partnered with several people, but he ran it. And
well, they went after it. Didn't they seize like
they
all your guys'
froze
bank
all our
accounts?
bank accounts, including my little brother's. Like I got a call and told, like, I got all my money out. I was living in Nebraska, so they didn't track me down at the time. I was still in college, and we lived off of all my money I'd saved up from working summer, and I had a job during college too. So, and we lived off of that $20,000, I think it was, for a couple months. And me and my dad were just going out doing like handyman work, trying to make the bills. And while he's in the middle of this lawsuit with the government, and it's a civic court, meaning it's not criminal. There were no criminal charges. It was all civil, but the government was the prosecutor. They select the judge. They select their own lawyers. They have unlimited amounts of money, and they have zero incentive to fail. And you know what they ended up doing? They settled with my dad because the other guys, they actually did leave. They ran off because they were like, I don't need to deal with this. Dave's holding the bag.
Yeah.
and they settled for $1.
But they
$1.
drove him into bankruptcy.
He was,
Yeah.
yeah, basically. And
Because they were working on behalf of the corporate Visa and
so
MasterCard.
Chuck Schumer got 5 AGs, attorney generals from Democrat states, I think several in South and North Carolina, to open up lawsuits. This is all like in the public record that they knew, like it was him that did this. And because a part of their projections on their internals were that they were going to cut 10 to 20% of Visa and MasterCard's revenue with that model. So we were talking about patents. There's many ways to kill things off that become threats. So that's unacceptable for the credit card companies to have that. So they call in their pit bulls in the government, and they just send their agents in, and they all lie. No one gets in trouble. No one gets arrested. Lives are destroyed. They'll come in, point a gun to your head. And they didn't arrest anybody. Nobody went to prison. It was no criminal. There was no criminal, and they send SWAT in with guns and start pulling people. It was pure terrorism. They just were trying to scare everybody. I say this out loud, and it sounds crazy. It's
yeah.
But I have no idea. I wonder how many times this happens to people, and no one knows about it. I bet
Maybe
you
we
it's
should
a
have
lot.
people put that in the comment below. Do you know someone or your family was in this?
Yeah, for sure. Please.
Yeah.
Like these stories need to be
I
told.
remember. What I thought was great is I went to your dad just to visit him. I was down there in Texas, and I went by to visit him. He had just moved there, and his lawyers overlook all my finances, and they wrote me up a plan we don't need to talk about. And they go, "This is how you deal with all these debts." I implemented the plan down to the T, what they told me, and walked away scot-free.
It's all a process.
And then they told me to go get a lawyer in my home state that would challenge all of the go to the like the credit bureaus. I had to go to the credit, get a lawyer to go to credit bureaus and send these letters off, these demand letters. And I did exactly what they told me to do, and it just canceled all the debt. Because it's right during that 08 debt crisis, and they had nothing on paper that had any of my signatures on it. Now, I'm not saying but a lot of the money that they were coming after me for, I didn't owe. I didn't spend it, nothing. It wasn't my money, and I didn't spend any of that. But they said I owed like $23,000 or some stuff like that. And I took it to these lawyers with David. He did like a free consult for me and sat me down and looked at all my stuff, kind of like a family thing. And I can understand why Visa and MasterCard were pissed at him, because what they found in the law, really, there was a lot of loopholes that they put in there.
Oh, yeah.
And it was all legal.
Yeah. So we still, in many ways, depending how you look at it, EM calls it the mob state that we live under, that it's not so much slavers. Well, they are slavers in a sense, but it's more of, I mean, if you look at Romans, you ever seen the series Rome?
That was a great series.
Forgot his first name.
John Milius. He's my favorite.
It's so good. It's only 2 seasons, and it was discontinued for some reason, but it was a genius.
Well, John Milius had a stroke.
Oh, okay.
And he was having trouble writing. Now, when I met John Milius and when I was talking to his son, he was telling me about it. John Milius is the coolest guy I've ever met.
Yeah, I would say that would be the coolest guy. That would be amazing to meet John Milius.
My friend Bob was close. So they filmed a nice documentary called Red Dawn here in New Mexico.
The
and
first
they filmed
one.
it up. Yeah, the good one. The first one. The Wolverines, right? Mm-hmm. We need to go up to Las Vegas. I can show you all the filming locations. I've been showing all the filming locations.
We should do that.
Yeah, it's a blast, dude. It is like the coolest. They still have the mural on the wall where that they painted for the thing. Go see the high school where they did the parachuters and all that stuff. But anyways, yeah. So John Milius, I've seen I somewhere I have an original screenplay of Red Dawn. So it's like,
Somewhere?
did you know that Red Dawn had you ever noticed there's some incontinuity in Red Dawn? Just a little rabbit hole here.
No?
When he goes into the when they go into the town the first time, he's wearing an ET hat. When he comes out of the town, he's not wearing an ET hat. And I always thought to myself, what happened to the ET hat? Well, the ET, there was a scene inside McDonald's where they went and they were buying stuff and they got approached by some Russians and they steal his hat because John Milius and Steven Spielberg are close friends. And they were talking crap about ET and they throw the hat away or they take the hat away from him. But so McDonald's was a large sponsor of the original Red Dawn. And there was the San Diego massacre inside a McDonald's. This guy literally walks in with like a Mini 14, just wipes out a whole bunch of people. I think he shot like 47 people in McDonald's. It was the worst massacre ever. And they say it started the whole massacre thing.
I never even heard of that. Huh.
Oh, you never?
That's crazy.
Really?
When was that? The 80s?
It was in 84. 19.
Interesting. So going back to I do think it's interesting to go back to the Confederacy question of, because I mean, we're going through another civil war today. Color revolutions, being used by third parties to facilitate the, illusion that the people are at each other's throats. Well, I shouldn't say it's an illusion because illusions become reality, or, stories, lies can become reality. Like these guys' comments were explain how the slavers of the Confederacy took over America, explain what was the thing, how Charlie Kirk faked his death. And the video he sent was about how he faked his death to put an innocent man like Tyler Robinson in jail. And the whole thing, I mean, it's like very trollish behavior, but at the same time, I meet people that believe that they like, there's something very interesting in the American psyche that's geared toward conspiracy theory, or what the CIA calls conspiracy theory. But it's not really common if you go to other places in the world that you see that they're all like, there's all this,
Hold on one second.
awareness
Let me
of
show you this.
espionage and subterfuge. What?
Check this out. Here. Uh-oh. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
San Ysidro, California?
Yeah. Gunman killed by police in San Ysidro. 21 die in restaurant massacre.
That would be interesting to look into.
It was the first mass shooting. I went down that rabbit hole because I wanted to see when this all started. It was the first large mass shooting in U.S. history, and it was in a McDonald's, and it happened like 2 or 3 weeks before Red Dawn was released. So McDonald's pulled out their sponsorship because they had this bad thing, and they didn't want like
a bunch of teenagers with guns killing each other.
Yeah,
under their brand.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Interesting. But
yeah. So, anyways, that was a rabbit hole.
No, that's interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. I didn't know about. That's very interesting.
Yeah, I wanted to figure out when this mass shooting stuff started, and that was because I remember hearing about they delayed the entrance of. They got rid of McDonald's from Bob, and he said, "Oh, that was the first mass shooting." I'm like, "It was? Holy!" So I started looking into it, and yeah, that was like the first mass shooting that we had.
Mm-hmm. So,
and that's what started in 1986. That's when they, because of that, that's when they did the machine gun ban and all that other stuff.
I'm about to jive off here a little bit from that, but if you
Oh,
want to, no,
sorry.
if you got just anyone else continue down this
But no, I
trail.
mean, but that links into the Charlie Kirk stuff. I mean, all this violence kind of like
I mean,
escalates
violence is
from
not
there.
new. We've had violence forever.
But
It's just that we never
but
had access to information like we do today. Is a big part of the thing. Like,
oh no, yeah.
Instantaneous information.
yeah.
Well, yeah. But I think the first, because if you look at history, and I'll end with this because we're trying to not go totally crazy tonight. But
If you want to go here, that's
if you
fine.
look,
I don't have a problem with it. It's,
oh, okay. If you look at history, there is at least from 1984 to 1999, there was at least 10, 15 mass shootings in the United States. I think it might be a high or low. I'm like out of my recollection. They were the first one that became a national spotlight because of the gruesomeness of it was the McDonald's one in 84. From 1984 to 1999, it was a regional thing and it never hit national news until Columbine.
mm-hmm.
Columbine's when it all shifted because because it was so big, it went over the top. And because who was president at the time was Bill Clinton, and they really pushed for gun control, and he did that stuff in '93 when they did the assault weapons ban, and that's when it really got bad. And now it's like you hear about it all the time because now everyone's trying to outdo themselves. So
yeah. And every time you see these shootings, there's always weirdness involved. Like, not always. There's some that look pretty organic. Like someone,
But most of them,
there's always something weird. There's cover-ups. The police or the FBI is always like hiding stuff, and they always blow certain things out of like they're making I mean, the legend of, how it's like all white people going around killing a bunch of like people. Like one of my friends who's very intelligent. I would say he's in many ways the smartest person I've ever met. He leans left, but he understands the Democrat Party is insane. So, but he's still kind of a
yeah.
lefty. He's like a kind of a theater guy. But I love him to death. He's like a brother to me. But he was like, there's a trans genocide going on, like with dead seriousness. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, look at the death rates of them. And I'm like, well, have we cross-referenced that with drugs or violence? Because, transgenders are notoriously like, especially like, a lot of them end up in prostitution or doing like working in the underworld because that's kind of the only place in polite society that they can even exist in. Not polite society. They can't exist. Not until recently. You can't, I mean, even now it's hard to come out and just be like, be a dude in a dress walking around saying, call me ma'am.
It's a lot easier than it
It's
was.
easier, but it's still hit a massive backlash. Like, people are not down with this by and large. No one's comfortable with this. There's no child, except for the ones that have been absolutely brainwashed and destroyed by their moms, that believe in this. That are like, not like, if you take a kid fresh and you just show them a man pretend to be a woman or a woman pretend to be a man, they're gonna be uncomfortable every time. They're not gonna like it. It's like, because they know there's some deception going on here.
To me, these parents that do this stuff, I can only equate it to it's a version of Munchausen syndrome. Except for they're not poisoning their children, except for they want, this, because I've met a couple of these people that have their kids that are transgender, and I've also met people that were suffering a Munchausen syndrome when they poison their kids to make them sick or make yourself sick, or I think that's what it is. I might be wrong the name, but it's like they are going after their own kids because they want the attention and they want the social acceptance that my kid is this. And that's the only thing I can come up with.
I think you're dead on with that, actually. And Corey, you're a life coach. Have you Do you have any insight into, I mean, we kind of went off on a tangent here, but I'm actually
Yeah.
I think this is important.
John Bonet Ramsey, that whole kid star kid um
Oh,
pageantry. Yeah.
hmm
They'll do whatever it takes. And you can equate that with sports and all kinds of stuff. Parents or single parents, they will push their kids into something that they absolutely suck at just so that the parents can have like a social group, can be
yeah.
accepted and all that kind of stuff. And it's an abnormal, normal thing that happens in society. I've met several people like that in person. I'm like, yeah, you're a little cray cray. And you need more help than this guy. Yeah, I can't help you.
I mean, it's an old impulse, very old, for to use your
Hmm.
children
But
as a
it's
pawn for social acceptance. That's very common in history.
Yeah.
Any great, I mean, if you look at the elites of any great civilization, that's their whole deal, is grooming their children for their role to take on the mantle if they're, you know, and that's like if they have to do it. But then also, you see all these celebrities that are like push their kids into this identity religion thing. It's all for social acceptance, although they'll never consciously be aware of it. But it's the same thing as like how we baptize our kids. It's like a baptism of like giving your kids up to God or giving your children up to something, some higher thing than you that other people can recognize as, in their world,
well, it's
moral.
Eyes
well, it's
wide
part of
shut, where they sell them off so they can have that power. They can have that prestige because they can't get it any other way.
And
That's the
I've
key.
met a girl that she grew up in an elite family in Dallas, and she was literally pimped like at cocaine parties with Alexander Soros, like literally like passed around to different people, and they use their children as bargaining chips or as collateral for reputation. So it's like, here, I'm going to give you my daughter to do whatever you want with her, and then you give me access to this meeting or to this group of people. And people hear that and they go, well, that's crazy, that can't happen. It's like, I assure, like, you people, this is my biggest, I don't, until you start looking at it or finding or meeting people that are in that world, you're never going to know it. Like, it's,
well, why wouldn't they? They don't raise their children. They have nannies and au pairs and all. They don't know their children. Why not? They have
Is
no emotional
they're
connection.
dispensable. So in Baal
Yeah, it's a
worship,
commodity.
you know, Baal worship where you can have sex as a prostitute and all that kind of stuff, and it's another mouth to feed. But you're not worried because once you birth this child, then you give it over to Baal, and that baby is sacrificed. And so it's a theme, it's a concept. It's been around for centuries, thousands of years, and it's not going away.
and EM talks about this in the estrogens, or how women are predisposed to sending their children off to war to go fight for the civilization or state. That historically, epigenetically, that is something we women are naturally geared toward being prepared to do. That yes, you like there's something in them that has to be willing to give their children up for a greater cause. And a part of that is by the very nature of childbirth, you realize, especially if you have any amount of consciousness, you're bringing, and you're not even consciousness, awareness, you're bringing your child into a world of, if you have a negative outlook, horror, pain, and death ultimately anyway. So they're all going to die anyway. We might as well use them to their utmost potential. And if that
I
means
haven't heard that one before.
And if that means that, oh, I mean, think about like the first thing, every mother's gone through this. They're like, why bring a child into this world? Or like, how could I bring my kid like that? Especially in the modern educational thing. That's how most young girls are taught to look at it. That's a part of the depopulation effort, is why would I bring my child into such a corrupt, racist world or whatever it is? It's like I'm doing, and on top of that, more people is killing the planet. So my moral duty is to castrate myself, or if I have a child, castrate them.
Or the other statement is, "I didn't ask to be birthed into this world." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Well,
Oh,
why
yeah,
would you
that
ask?"
And this is why EM calls them the resentfuls.
Yeah.
but they are that is I haven't heard him say that, but as that is about the best analogy I've heard. Because my biggest I don't care if you're gay, but my biggest thing was for the longest time, people would call themselves gay, but they always seemed upset. And gay means happy. So if
Mhm.
you're
The
happy, why are
original.
you upset? You know, it's like so they would go, I'm gay. Okay, cool, but why are you so upset? It doesn't it never made sense to me.
Yeah.
And if you like look at like Roseanne Ball or I mean Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie O'Donnell. She is just continuously and ongoingly mad. Ellen DeGeneres is just pissed all the time. It's like they get into this mindset and this liberal toxicity, and they because their whole faith in religion and everything is all askewed and messed up. It's just they get this woke ideology and this liberalism, and it just overcomes them. It just the darkness overtakes them. It seems like.
And it's not just them, it's everybody's, getting that darkness inside. It's spreading fast.
Hmm.
It's going everywhere. And once it touches you and you don't do anything about it, it can consume. And
But
that's the scary part.
Yes.
the thing that's scary is I can say this as a recovering porn addict, I guess you would say, is once you let sin and darkness into your heart and you start going down that path, it overwhelms you. And it's like you start engulfing yourself in that kind of dark behavior, and it's just so addictive.
Mhm.
And it's not free. It's like it captures you, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
It's
You're a
just
slave, you're, chained to it.
It's a
when you
You're
become
addicted.
it's a
you become ashamed and then you don't but then you keep it's a cycle like you're ashamed you don't want to admit it but it's just it's incredible when you let Satan into your heart the power he takes over.
yeah, and it's also chasing dopamine rushes. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, there's definitely you could use it in spiritual terms, but it also is like I keep quoting EM. Sorry, but I have to because it's so profound. But that we're and he wasn't the first one to say this, but we just talked to him. So that we're what did he say? The human brain is a drug addict,
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
100%.
and
I
it's
I had a friend of mine growing up that was addicted. His name was Tyler. He would go down. He was always doing wheelies. He had a bench. He was jumping off stuff. He was just addicted to that dopamine hit, and from the adrenaline and uh, you know pornography is a dopamine hit. This self-aggrandized like I went and challenged the man gives you. It's all this stuff is it makes you a drug addict.
Gambling.
Just like
Gambling is a huge dopamine hit. Yeah, you have tons of stuff out there, and to self-regulate with all these social media, all the platforms are dopamine hits because
oh
it's
yeah,
set
every
up
time you
that way.
sign in, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's like everything out there is giving you dopamine, and then once you have hit so much, your body is just shot. And so how do you, self-regulate when your body is just out of whack? A lot of people just shut things off, turn it down, and then they have to go like all these other things, cold turkey or whatever else, so they can get to a homeostasis again.
Yeah, state
That's
of equilibrium.
Yep, you got to bring it all back, and you have to refigure out how can I get these dopamine hits, that's not so artificial.
or it's a I don't know if you would call it a positive feedback loop because I mean it's that um I mean going out exercising is one, but a lot of people overdo that. and make that their whole identity, and it's like I'm just that's all I do, which, it's probably better than doing drugs, but at the same time, a lot of
It's a
a
drug.
lot of athletes end up dying young too, and they don't drink or smoke or do anything, and they just consume their life with be focused on their external appearance or their body so much that that just becomes who they are. And
Well, was it ADD brains? I have attention deficit if you haven't noticed, but um, serotonin. I guess they say that the ADD brain is lacking in serotonin, and when you exercise and do all this stuff, you get a really good serotonin, a hit of serotonin. And I've come to realize that every morning I go for a 5 mile walk, not for the exercise. It's because that serotonin release helps like my brain lubricate and helps me figure stuff out. You ever notice that, Corey?
to me, it makes me
Um,
tired. Go ahead. Sorry, Corey.
it depends on time of the day when I do it and that kind of stuff. It can wire me up. Other times a day, man, it makes me crash. Like, let's take a nap now. And other times, and I've met other people that they exercise to wake their bodies up, and they're cranking for the rest of the day. 4 a.m. They hit the gym or whatever else, multiple things, and it's like an energy boost.
Oh,
It
dude.
it's crazy how it works and stuff, but um, I think if you just sit there and just kind of figure it out yourself, take a week doing one thing or then the other, then you'll know how your body works. How it will it crash? Will it excel? That kind of stuff. Yeah.
Well,
Uh,
yesterday I went on a almost what 3 and 4 and 3/4 mile hike. Put 20 pounds on my, put 25 pound ruck on and went for a hike and pushed to try to really get it done in the same period of time I can walk 5, which I failed miserably. But the end of that hike, I felt absolutely thrashed. But I turned my do not disturb on, and I just got into that zone of like total mental clarity and just started working shit out, I guess you would say, in the crude term. But it just, I can see why it's like an addiction. It's like you're working all your muscles and they're releasing these chemicals into your brain, and you can just like
did you know that the
I've been,
Scottish they have this thing that's a circle that they walk in circle to be able to figure out problems and make solutions?
is that why Scrooge McDuck had that thing in the middle of his office he'd walk around?
There,
He was
It's a real
Scottish.
thing.
that's interesting.
Look it up.
It's one other thing. Yeah, that rucksacking is great, but also if I'm sure you got some plate carriers. That'll
Yep.
that'll make it so you don't have to walk nearly as much and you get a lot more out of it. Like, that's great.
What do you think's in the backpack?
Weighted vests.
Well, I have two plates in
I
there.
feel like if I wear the vest, like, in my center, it actually activates a lot more instead of just on my back.
Really?
Yeah, because that's tough and it's worth doing, but I feel like wearing it on the person, it act like you get a lot more dynamic, resistance going on.
Yeah, I'm just hesitant because you go walking with plate carriers down a hiking trail, you might get some eyebrows
Well, they also have
lifted.
weight vests that are a thing that are relatively cheap, and they
Oh,
just, like, are heavy sandbags or stuff, like, you can adjust the weight, like, appropriately, like, if it's too much, you can add more here, it's little.
And then they also have padding
Yeah, they're a
so
lot more
that it doesn't
comfortable.
cut into your
Yeah.
shoulder.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, hiking with plate
Yeah, I
but
have
carriers
a
sucks. That's tough.
yeah. I've done
dude,
both.
I went for a walk with plate carriers on 5 mile, and that pressure on your chest is just
I put both on to my daughter. She was like thinking about doing military and that kind of stuff. And I was like, hey, wear this. She was like, whoa. And so she had to switch out and 'cause it was a little bit too much.
what was
But
funny is when I
at
went
that
and did
time
the
I was doing pretty good with that stuff.
I went to the Black Rifle Challenge up in Albuquerque, Rio Rancho, the BMC Black Rifle Challenge, and we had two what was it? Two PJs and two SF or security forces guys there, and they were on the same team. And they ran that whole course of fire. If you watch my YouTube channel of me running, except for they did it with their plate, they did it full body armor.
Yeah, they
And I
have
was
to.
just like, I'm like, you guys, he goes, well, I'm so used to shooting with this in all our training. It's just, I shoot better with the body armor on than I do without it. And I'm like, you guys are nuts. That, and it was cool because they all brought their military suppressors. I was like, cool, go rock and roll.
Someone said train the way you fight.
Fight the way you train.
There is a logic
Or
to
yeah,
it.
train
It
the way you
would
fight.
balance you a bit more and probably add to shock absorption for, stability purposes, just being weighted down like that. Like once you get
Yeah,
your
that'd be
footing
kind of fun to
right,
do.
like I could see that.
Go
Yeah,
do
go
the
through a
Rocky
training
Mountain.
like that.
Go do
That'd
Rocky
be
Mountain
fun.
3-gun wearing plate carriers.
Yeah.
That'd be. Dude, well, that'd be cool because you have all that molly web across your chest. Think all the shotgun shells holders you could have on that thing. Mag pouches. That'd be badass. Gonna have to have it around your stomach.
Yeah.
My daughter's having to go to bed. Hold on
That's
a
all right.
second. Come
I
here,
would
baby.
like to.
I love you.
I do want to go back
Sorry.
to the Confederacy thing because this won't be something done
Oh, yeah.
tonight. But it is our understanding of the American Civil War is very, very limited. I've come across a few very
That
interesting
book,
books.
Corey, that book about the Confederate Secret
Yes,
Service.
that's a very good one. Yeah, what's his name? Patrick. Forgot that author's name. He's incredible. His books are all gold. They're very, very good. He hones in on stories so you can track the narrative like as good historians, in my opinion. Good historians tell a good story, in my opinion. Because history is so dang hard to be accurate about anyway. Might as well tell a personal story.
Yeah, I can't find the book right off the top of my
It's
head.
called
Life approached, tied up his horse, and entered.
let's see.
Yeah. But, going back to that, there is a ton of things that have actually some things are coming out that we can, find out what's really going on, what happened, and all that kind of stuff. People are putting a lot of history together. Yeah. And
Unvanquished.
to really
Patrick K.
unpack that,
O'Donnell.
it's a little bit harder.
Yeah.
Patrick K. O'Donnell is the best war historian, American war historian that we have, that I've ever encountered. I think I don't know anyone else.
Yeah.
He went with the Marines in Fallujah door to door. Like they gave him a rifle and like, hey, you're fighting today, because it was just so insane. And he was like, there is a war correspondent. Like he was like, okay, like that classic, in the, what is it, that we were soldiers moment. It's like, you're fighting today, boy. Like,
and he goes, yes, sir. Let's do this.
Oh, that was great when he did that. He goes, you want to live here? Hands him the rifle.
Yeah. So
Sam Elliott was so good in that movie. Dude.
Oh yeah, I forgot that was Sam Elliott. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that guy's been around for a long time.
He's a total hippie too. I
movies.
didn't realize that till later.
No way.
Yeah, he's a total hippie.
Hmm.
But yeah, what
doesn't come across that way.
That's why
when they were filmed. Do you know where they filmed We Are Soldiers?
No, I don't. No.
They filmed it at 400 Liggett in San Luis Obispo and Monterey County. It splits over the county.
In California?
And we used to go up to 400 Liggett to go fishing, and we went up there, and they were filming We Are Soldiers, and we met Mel Gibson and stuff when they were making that movie.
Oh, wow.
And I have some casings from the blanks that they were firing during that. It was pretty cool. Mel Gibson was a really nice guy. He was really cool to meet. But 400 Liggett, the reason they had that base is because the geography so correctly mimicked Vietnam. That's why they had the base and they kept it. But it represented a lot of Asia,
Topography.
the Asian wars. Yeah. But yeah, all that stuff was done at 400 Liggett. And yeah, all the Vietnamese guys were just a lot of Latino gentlemen, we'll say, that were from Paso Robles, and you know what's funny is Tim Kennedy, the guy, he lived out there when they filmed that movie. So he was from that area.
And now he lives next to me.
Yeah. But the good thing about it is, this is why Colin keeps bringing it back, is we are, reading your stuff, right? And we're going to try to answer it the best we can. And some things, Colin probably hit the nail on the head. This is a little bit
It's
hard to
complicated.
really say and to come across. And we spent almost an hour and 15 minutes running through it, right, with a bunch of different rabbit holes. But
my problem, my ADD moments, I apologize, but
yeah, but we'll read your stuff and we'll kind of talk it through, and Colin will be like, I don't know, this is way too big and too vast and maybe unclear, and if you want to restate this in a way that is more concise and clear and also nails down a point or two.
If let's say, for example, that this isn't a troll and this guy is actually serious about what he's asking, okay, give me clear examples of why you're saying the slavers and who are the slavers that we're talking about here. Because if you think the ultimate baddies in this drama are Southern plantation owners, buddy, you better strap in for like a world of disillusionment, because it's way worse than you think it is.
Oh yeah,
it's
dude. When you
that's cute. You think it's Southern plantation owners running the world? God bless.
Yeah.
Like that's one.
Yeah.
I wish I was that deluded. That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Read that book and it'll blow that right off out of the water. You'll be like, that's not right. Yeah, that was a great book.
But
Unvindicated.
Unvanquished.
Vindicated, is that Unvanquished?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The untold story of Lincoln's Special Forces manhunt for the was it Mosby's Rangers and the Shell War that forced America into special operations. But because the thing I never realized is that the first, well, not one of, actually they had special operations during this during the Revolution. There was a lot of secret stuff, but we won't go down that path. But one of the true where they really started having special forces operations and stuff is has a lot to do with the Civil War, when they had people going behind enemy lines and destroying railroad tracks and telegraph lines and all that stuff. And
they made
the
stuff
Confederates. They had the Confederate Secret Service, and they had the Mosby's Rangers, which conveniently they were really concerned when they started the Ranger battalions during the Second World War, that there was people still alive during the First World War that were alive during the Civil War, and they were afraid that they would find out that one of the original Ranger battalions was actually in the Confederate Army.
I mean, you're going to the Revolution, and just real fast on this, and then I want to quickly dive back. I won't spend too much time on this. I know we're over an hour, but I mean, the movie The Patriot, Mel Gibson is that's an example of, I mean, obviously that's a regular warfare, that in the sense of you don't have standing armies, you're hitting supply trains, you're going after intelligence, you're collecting letters from officers. So it's people, I think, get a little Hollywood when they start thinking special forces operations. They think it's like a very nuanced or a new element of warfare. There's nothing new about it. It's as old as time itself. It's very
well. they started doing irregular warfare back in the French and Indian Wars.
They've been doing it since Babylon. I mean, if people,
Yeah.
the problem I have that we are running into is people are not aware of espionage as a concept. We just think of it as James Bond movies. And so we kind of dispel it as like these people are all superheroes, and they're not. We're really just talking about understanding who your adversary is, what you want from them, and then what are the means of extraction. It's basically what it all comes down to. And in the world of espionage, you can do whatever you want to as long as you don't get caught.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you get caught,
What I
you have a
think,
pawn sacrifice, and you move that and use that as a leverage device sometimes. So go ahead.
well, did you know that the original concept of propaganda was written by an American for advertisement? And that book was taken in and translated in Germany, and that's when the Germans started using propaganda or mind swaying a crowd, or during World War II. And but propaganda was an idea that they gathered through like spy
I've got
operations and
some
stuff on
ancient
how
Egyptian hieroglyphs that beg to differ on that one. This is old.
Well, I know, but yeah, go
This
ahead.
is very old. All right. People have been
Where do
lying
you
a
think that guy
very
got
long
it from?
time. Okay. That's really what it all
Yeah.
comes down to is deception. Where's the origin
Nothing's
point
new
of
underneath
deception?
the sun.
Nothing. Where's the origin point of deception?
Well,
Like,
Adam at the Garden of
yeah,
Eden.
exactly. So it's like the first thing we learned to do was,
Tell
well,
lies.
the optimist would say the first thing we learned was to be grateful, and then the second thing was to be ungrateful. So, and that's the one that stuck. So,
Yeah, the ungrateful. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I really want to touch on the Confederacy for a second here, just as a primer for maybe not the next one, because we have a special guest. Hopefully that will be here this Thursday.
Look for, if you want to know who the special guest is, we'll release the name of the special guest in the Patreon. And if you have questions for the guest, we'll be taking we'll be taking questions to be asked of our guests through Patreon. So,
and it has a lot to
But once
do
you
with
say-
espionage in Europe, post World War II, and Operation Gladio for context. So,
Yeah.
if you want to know more about Operation Gladio, write us, and we're getting a
Tune in. Tune
what
in
is that?
Thursday.
Well, we've been studying Operation Gladios here on the channel for since the very beginning, since episode 1. We've been talking about it. I'll have to pull up some files, but anyways, if you want to ask questions of our special guest, we're going to release the name of the special guest on the Patreon. It's one of the Patreon perks.
Yeah.
You can become a Patreon member and find us out for a whole $5. Well, anyways,
Or more.
You want to give us more? That would help. Every dollar helps towards our goal.
Yeah.
So, anyways, what were we saying, Colin? And then we're gonna break this up because we got a long
Wrap it
session
up.
coming up during the week. So we have to break this up tonight.
a primer would be for upcoming discussions. I do think, given since we are in a de facto civil war, you have actual states in this country that are openly, at least, as far as we can tell, disregarding federal laws and
trying to use their National Guard against the federal government. Yeah.
At least that's the optics they're trying to create. But the point is, they're trying to create this idea that they're against the Confederate slavers. Is they're trying to bring back all these, because they need these old legends that people that are like the American population is insanely ignorant when it comes to history. You're taught good guy, bad guy narratives about Civil War, World War I, World War II. You're not taught about the financial interests. You're not taught about espionage. You're not taught about great power politics. You're not taught about you're really not, you're given zero context, and you're told these are the good guys and these are the bad guys. And then maybe there's good guys and bad guys on both sides, and that there's different operating systems being engaged in terms of where they want people groups to maneuver and move. And maybe nobody's a good guy. Maybe that's out, maybe there's no good guys when it comes to great power
Well,
politics.
the thing I find interesting is these people are protesting ICE, and I can understand that. But the one thing when I was working, I worked on building the border wall down here in 2018, 2019, and into 2020. One of the many projects we worked on during that period of time. And if you think that these people that are coming in, these illegal immigrants are coming in here, they are the modern slave trade. They come in here and if you're a female, you're most likely to get raped on your way here. I have seen the result of this. I've talked to actual Mexican nationals and South Americans that have come up, and these coyotes will rape them until they get to pay the bordering thing, and then they hand them off as human traffickers, and they're sold in modern day slave markets into the sex trades. And the idea that they're advocating to keep these people here that are sold into slavery, when they come out and confess that they're anti-slavery and they want reparations for people and all this stuff, when they're promoting the very ideal or the people that are coming into slavery, it is just appalling to me. You stand on your high horse and you tell me how these people are just victims and all this stuff. They're victims of both sides. And the reason we need to get these people to put a strong border up, and the reason we need to get this under control, is to stop slavery. We have young children that are coming up here through the southern border that's only 20 miles from my house that direction. And they're taking these young children and they're selling them into slavery. The cartels are putting them into slavery, and then they come up here and they work in modern day bathhouses and whorehouses, and they sell these young children and these young ladies into slaveries, and then they take them in and they work them in sweatshops. And yet they're going to sit there and tell me that we need to allow this to continue. We need to allow slavery to continue. And the appalling nature that they come up and they tell me how righteous they are to continue slavery, I just cannot understand.
It's emotionalism because they were told good guy, bad guy, good thing, bad thing.
Yep.
And the nuance is lost, and so they're gonna back. That's why there's no discussion to be had with these people at this point. They
are so brainwashed. I have seen with my own lying eyes, I guess you would say, I have gone out into the desert to set up a mobile concrete plant. And when we went out there to do site investigation on how we're going to get our trucks in there, set this concrete plant up, we have found dead women and children out in the desert because they were left there by their coyote with no water, no food, and they died, and they turned into skeletons in the desert. That's the kind of people we're trying to stop. That border wall, when we first started building it, I thought of it as a political stunt. It's a humanitarian mission to make these people that want to come here. Now, I'm not saying they can't come here, but they need to come in through the gates so we can help them when they get here. If they're sneaking in, we can't help them. And it's just the idea that these people think they're so righteous when they're promoting the very thing that's killing people. It's just...
Yeah, it is. And people are doing their best, and we're going to do better. But
I'm sorry to go off on that.
Yeah.
I get emotional. I get upset.
No, that was a good
this
tangent
might-
because it's real. I've seen it too.
yeah,
I've seen the raped women. I've hugged them. Like I know it's real. It's real.
I've seen these border patrol agents stop trucks. I've seen them stop a U-Haul truck over by Corzozo full of young women and children. And they didn't give them water or nothing. And it's 105 degrees outside, and like 3 people died in the back of that truck.
Mhm.
And I got stuck there while Border Patrol and the ambulances and everyone else is trying to get these poor women and children out of there before they pass out and die. And you're going to sit there, and my idea of we need to disincentivize this and allow you to come in through, it's just, I've seen so many young children.
Imagine you put those people going along on those raids and they get to see and experience it. That would change their minds. Then they would flip to the other extreme of, whatever that would be, because they are extremists, they are
And that
emotional.
happens.
And yeah, and it's a good way to flip it on its head, but you have to have those people willing to go and see how it's going on and how it's happening. The great thing is a lot of it is slowed down
Oh, dude.
big time.
They said that last year, I think that they cut the yearbook. I forget the exact numbers, but they said that there was 20,000 less fentanyl deaths than there were the year before.
I have family that
There
are,
was,
some of them are not documented or they're illegals, and through my wife, and they've told me directly, like, everyone is freaked out. Like, it's like there are people don't hear about this because the news can only focus on one thing at a time to keep their narrative coherent, because that's their audience they're dealing with. And
mm-hmm.
but there are raids happening all over the country constantly. I mean, people are being deported all the time, and it's not even the deportations, it's making the optics of it look like it's so difficult. Like, they have cops even just drive by like a market where they know, like a kind of a farmer's market, and that everyone just scatters and run, and it's the pressure is creating, I think they said it's about 4.5 million self-deportations so far. And
Oh,
that's
dude,
really
I'm
gonna
not.
be what stops it, is the self-enforcement, is when people just decide we've had enough and this isn't worth it. And it's so expensive
Yep.
to live here anyway. I mean, before, like, we started the turnaround economically, which hopefully is real, it looks like it's real. I was like, man, you can talk to your family. Maybe we go, hunker down in Mexico, like, cause this is getting bad up here. And I love America. Like,
Yeah.
but it's like,
Dude, when
Ecuador.
my daughter was born, we had to go down to Mexico to get baby formula because there was no baby formula in the United States. And they were taking pallets of baby formula and giving it to all the illegals and stuff.
you just need to get raw cow milk
So,
or cow milk,
Goat milk.
goat milk.
Oh, horse milk. My grandfather told me a story about that. Is that my grandmother's funeral, and he's gone blindish and pretty deaf, and he just started telling stories, and he goes, "I remember this lady and her husband coming to our house, and this, they were born 1915, 1920, and lived out in the middle of nowhere in the sense that it was 100-mile radius. My dad said it was them, Zimmermans. That's it. No one else. And someone came and brought their baby because the wife didn't let down milk yet. And so they fed the baby horse milk, and the baby thrived. But otherwise, there was no
speaking of
hope.
milk, that A2 milk, man, that stuff's pretty good.
Yeah, I've been liking
Doesn't
But
it
that.
anyways,
feel
we're
good?
gonna
Like, you
call it
feel it,
short.
right? It's like, oh, this actually feels nice. Like, you can kind of feel,
Feels
The
feels different than the other stuff where it just makes me just all clog up and
yeah.
stuff. Oh,
Try
this is
that and
good
the
stuff.
bread too.
Try,
The bread,
yeah, the rye bread.
the bread,
Yeah.
the rye
Yeah,
bread.
rye bread
Yeah, what were you
rocks.
gonna say?
Yeah, well,
The next
Try
step is
the
try actual raw cow milk. It's really
okay.
incredible. Like, I just had another glass a few days ago because I hate milk, like, by
Yeah.
nature, but whenever I drink it, I'm like, okay, this is nice. This is okay. It's just psychologically, because I grew up on skim milk and I hated it. I just was like, this is trash.
Ooh, yeah.
Like,
But anyways,
yeah.
We
I'll just leave it with this real quick.
this is going to be part 1.
Yeah, I want to
Wait,
put this
you're
out there
cutting it
as
short.
a intro for like maybe if 1 or 2 people have a follow up, because I think the Confederacy is something very interesting to get into.
We'll get into it. I've done a lot of research in the Confederacy, and it's
So
pretty
when
interesting.
Jefferson left, he was running to Texas with all the seals and stamps, and I'll leave it at this. Just we're taught about the Trans-Mississippi Department, right? You remember that?
Okay,
Being taught that in school?
vaguely.
Basically,
Va-
it was a regional governmental body of the Confederacy that managed everything west of the Mississippi, aka Texas. When Jefferson fled, he took with him all the seals, all the, all the things of the rigmarole, the items that provide the statehood legitimacy of the Confederacy. And one of the things that provides legitimacy for government is monetary backing. In those days, we're talking gold and silver. And he
Yeah.
left with a lot of it. He was captured and he was arrested and tried under the auspices of being an accomplice in the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then they let him go. And he lives out the rest of his life peacefully.
We'll leave it at that, gentlemen.
Well, thanks
We're gonna
if
have
you
a
gotten this far, and then you're like, but thanks, Colin. Thanks for dropping that. Yeah. But
well,
look forward to our next podcast. Throw out your questions, cons, all that kind of stuff. And then those who join our Patreon,
Patreons.
dude, yeah, you're going to get some good stuff then too. So
We're up to 3 Patreons with 5 total members. So we need to get 5 more members, 5 more paid members, and then there's a t-shirt giveaway.
Yeah.
So, all right, gentlemen. I'll see each other during the rest of the week, and all the rest of you guys stand
follow
by
Bald
for some more
Advisors. I
kick-ass.
love your logo there in the corner here.
Yeah.
It's nice. Good touch.
Great friend made that for me.
It's nice.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right.